Dear listeners, hello everyone. Today, we will explore a great literary masterpiece, Don Quixote. This novel, written by the Spanish author Miguel de Cervantes, is divided into two volumes, with the first published in 1605 and the second in 1615. It is not only a widely beloved adventure story, but also hailed as the first modern novel. Imagine an aging, thin gentleman riding a scrawny horse, wielding a lance, and setting off with his loyal squire on a series of absurd yet touching adventures. This is Don Quixote, a knight who is both ridiculous and admirable. Don Quixote was born in the late Spanish Renaissance, a time when chivalric novels were highly popular. Cervantes used humor and wisdom to mercilessly satirize these unrealistic stories while also exploring the eternal conflict between human ideals and reality. This novel not only changed the course of literature but also profoundly influenced thought and culture for centuries. Today, we will analyze this immortal work from multiple perspectives, including its historical background, themes, characters, plot, style, and impact. Through this journey, I hope you will appreciate the unique charm of Don Quixote and even be inspired to open the original book and savor every detail. To understand Don Quixote, we must first return to late 16th and early 17th century Spain. It was an era of contradictions. Spain had just experienced its Golden Age, expanding its empire through colonial conquests and becoming a European superpower. However, domestically, it faced economic decline and social rigidity. Meanwhile, Renaissance thought led to the flourishing of culture and the arts, and the spread of the printing press brought books into ordinary households, especially chivalric novels. These books depicted heroic knights, beautiful princesses, and magical adventures, becoming the spiritual opium of the time. However, most of these stories were detached from reality, filled with exaggeration and fantasy. Cervantes, born in 1547 to a poor noble family, deeply recognized the absurdity of this cultural phenomenon. In his youth, he served as a soldier and fought in the famous Battle of Lepanto, where he was wounded and left disabled. Later, he worked as a tax collector but was repeatedly imprisoned due to financial troubles. The hardships of life and his disdain for chivalric novels motivated him to write Don Quixote. On the surface, the novel tells the tale of an old gentleman's mad adventures, but in essence, it is a sharp satire of chivalric literature and the social values behind it. In the preface, Cervantes stated that he wanted to make people despise those fictional knightly tales. However, he achieved much more than that. He provided us with a mirror to examine human nature and society. The charm of Don Quixote lies not only in its humor but also in its profound themes. The protagonist, Don Quixote, is an aging nobleman obsessed with chivalric novels. He renames himself Don Quixote de la Mancha, and resolves to become a knight-errant, fighting for justice and protecting the weak. However, the reality he faces no longer has knights. What he sees as giants are merely windmills, and what he perceives as armies are merely flocks of sheep. Every one of his adventures ends in failure, yet he never abandons his dream. The stark contrast between idealism and reality is both laughable and touching. Have you ever considered whether Don Quixote's persistence also exists within each of us? Have we ever charged forward regardless of everything for an unattainable dream? Don Quixote's madness is one of the novel's highlights. He mistakes inns for castles and prostitutes for noble ladies. His absurd behavior seems incomprehensible. However, upon closer examination, his madness is not entirely meaningless. His belief in chivalric ideals is unshakable, and even after being ridiculed and beaten, he remains steadfast. In contrast, his squire, Sancho Panza, represents reason and realism. Sancho is a practical farmer who understands that windmills are just windmills, yet he still follows Don Quixote in hopes of one day ruling an island. Their conversations are often humorous. One dreams extravagantly, while the other stays grounded, yet they complement each other, portraying the dual nature of human ideals and pragmatism. Through Don Quixote's adventures, Cervantes cleverly satirizes the social problems of his time. The hypocrisy of the nobility, the cruel pranks of the Duke and Duchess, and the corruption of the clergy all unfold throughout the story. For example, Don Quixote once tries to free a group of prisoners, but they turn against him and rob him instead. This moment not only mocks Don Quixote's naivety, but also critiques the emptiness of law and justice. Cervantes wraps his social commentary in humor, allowing readers to laugh while reflecting on reality. The friendship between Don Quixote and Sancho is one of the most heartwarming aspects of the novel. Don Quixote, though delusional, has a pure heart. Sancho, though greedy, is incredibly loyal. Their relationship evolves from mere master and servant to true companionship, showcasing the complexity and beauty of human emotions. Don Quixote is a tall, thin old man in his 50s, with a wrinkled face and a worn-out suit of armor. He rides an emaciated horse named Rocinante, and truly believes himself to be a handsome knight. His character is full of contradictions. He is both stubborn and kind, absurd and noble. His most famous adventure is his battle against windmills, where he mistakes them for giants and charges forward, only to be knocked down by their spinning blades. This scene is both comical and tragic, symbolizing his unwavering pursuit of his ideals. Though insane, he never intends harm. Rather, he constantly strives to help others. Over the course of the story, his mindset slowly changes, and in the end, he awakens from his dreams, acknowledges reality, and dies as a regular man. This transformation is both poignant and admirable. Sancho Panza, Don Quixote's squire, is a short, chubby farmer who loves food and drink and dreams of one day governing an island. Unlike Don Quixote, he sees the world for what it is, yet he still chooses to follow his master. He is both greedy and wise, often using proverbs to advise Don Quixote, but over time, he, too, becomes influenced by his master's idealism. Their evolving relationship is one of the most touching aspects of the book. The novel also features many intriguing supporting characters. Dulcinea, the perfect lady Don Quixote imagines, is in reality just a rough peasant woman. The Duke and Duchess play cruel pranks on Don Quixote and Sancho, revealing their own emptiness. Though these characters appear briefly, each adds depth to the story. The plot of Don Quixote is both fantastical and absurd. The book is divided into 2 volumes, chronicling Don Quixote's 3 journeys. His first journey is a solo adventure, where he charges at windmills and is easily defeated. In his second journey, he is accompanied by Sancho and experiences a series of bizarre events, such as mistaking sheep for an army and an inn for a castle. His third journey sees him tricked by the Duke and Duchess before ultimately returning home, realizing his folly, and passing away peacefully. One of the novel's most iconic scenes is Don Quixote's battle against the windmills. Despite being repeatedly defeated, his spirit never wavers, until the very end when he finally accepts reality and dies. Don Quixote is more than just a novel, it is a literary milestone. It is regarded as the foundation of modern fiction and has influenced countless authors, including Dickens, Kafka, and Garcia Marquez. The book has been translated into hundreds of languages and remains relevant today. Some see it as a comedy, others as a tragedy, but above all, it makes us reflect on the meaning of ideals, reality, and human nature. Ultimately, Don Quixote is an epic about dreams and reality. His madness makes us laugh, yet his persistence moves us. Perhaps, deep down, we all have a little bit of Don Quixote in us, chasing after our own windmills.